Good day to you, DJ boys and girls. This is Al Pooley from Party Time DJ Services with yet another active speaker review. And today we're looking at something a little bit different. I say different because in all my years of, reviewing and testing speakers, this is the first time I actually get my hands on a Cerwin Vega active speaker. This is the brand new CVE line, which is actually Cerwin Vega's entry-level line of active speakers. So I was really curious to see how they would compare to some of my favorites, such as the RCF Art series and the Yamaha DXRs. So I actually saw these the first time at my local Long & McQuaid, which you Canadians will know as the place to rent your DJ gear or instruments or microphones or whatever you need. Rental prices are just amazing here, and I used to have to buy a lot of the stuff that I was testing. That's why I have a nice collection of speakers and stuff. But these days, you need a speaker, you need a sub, you can just go over to your Long & McQuaid, rent it for a very, very reasonable price. They even have, half price rental days. So I've been really happy since they've been around. But you can't rent every single thing they have over at Long & McQuaid. So I had to ask my dealer if I could try out these new little Cerwin Vega cabs. I saw them in their showroom, and the specs looked interesting. The look is actually really, really very nice and clean. Once you take the stickers off, but of course, because, for weddings and stuff, you can't use any kind of speaker. Like for myself, I love the sound quality and the output of my RCFs, but I usually won't use them at a wedding just because the look is a little bit, it's not the greatest looking speaker as good as it sounds. So I'll usually take out my DXR 15s or little DXR 8s with some, some subs underneath or something, but it's very important appearance-wise, and if you're doing a lot of wedding-type events where the looks are important. So when I saw these this new Cerwin Vega line, this new Cerwin Vega entry-level line, and how clean the presentation is and all the specs, I said, well, I have to test them. So thank you very much, Josh, over at Long & McQuaid, for letting me try one of these guys for the weekend and compare it to my RCF Art 310A, as well as my DXR 8, which, while of course it has a little bit of a disadvantage being an 8-inch, I just wanted to compare the overall sonic qualities of these three speakers, see how the CVE line fares in comparison to more expensive speakers. So the price on these, the CVE-10 is actually $459 if I recall correctly, with the 12 being somewhere around $549 and the 15 being around $649. That's in Canada. So excellent price. They are very, very lightweight, which is another feature that most DJs will appreciate. The 10s come in at 29 pounds, the 12s at 32, I believe, and the 15s at like 35 or 36. So 35 or 36 pounds for a 15-inch active speaker. They all have 1,000 watts of Class D power. They do have 5 EQ presets, which actually are very well done. Bluetooth stereo pairing, another feature that many might enjoy. There's a small mixer in the back, wide dispersion, and 124 dB max SPL. That's for the 10. The 12, I believe, is 126, and the 15 is 128. So let's turn this bad boy around, see what we have in terms of mixing, or mixer section. So as you see, they actually have two side handles, but also a handle at the bottom here with that nice Cerwin Vega logo. They do appear to be, I'm not sure if they're fan-cooled or not. I forgot to check that spec. But let's have a quick look at the mixer section. So as you see, 1,000 watt powered two-way. There are two inputs, which are combination 1/4-inch XLR inputs. You have a level for each of them, which you can, toggle between line or mic depending on your sound source. And you also have Bluetooth capability. Not just Bluetooth capability, you have stereo Bluetooth capability, so you can pair one speaker to this, or actually two speakers in stereo. So that's another very interesting feature that might be useful to many of you. There is a mixed output, which actually combines channel 1 and 2, as well as anything you have come into the Bluetooth, and you can send that out to another speaker. As far as, there's basically no lights. You usually have a clip or a limit light. Not a clip-it light, but a clip or a limit light or something, but not this speaker. You just have basically lights indicating your DSP mode and your Bluetooth if you're using it or not. So 5 different modes. There's the mix, or the flatter sound of them all. It's flatter sounding than the other ones, I'll say. Voice, there's an obvious reduction of low frequencies, same as monitor. Monitors, there's a slight reduction of low frequencies, but also from the description, they say that they do reduce some of the more frequently offending frequencies when it comes to feedback, so that's probably a good feature to have. There's live PA mode as well as club DJ. Live PA is probably my favorite. It's somewhere between the mix, the flat, and the club DJ. The club DJ just gives it a really strong boost in the low end. It reminds me of the Yorkville Parasource boxes where they'll have that club DJ mode. Just a little too much for me, especially in a 10-inch speaker. What happens is that boost is so strong right from the get-go. As soon as you turn up the volume, it basically disappears, because that woofer, any 10-inch woofer, can only move so much air. And it's very noticeable. If you're in the club DJ mode and you crank up the volume, you'll instantly lose a lot of that low end right away. But that's the way, they have to do that to protect the speaker. At lower volumes, the club mode sounds nice and full, of course. So if you're playing dinner music and or you're playing Kenny G during the supper, for example, and you want it to sound as nice and full as it can, and you're not using subs, well, that club DJ mode is very useful. But as I mentioned, as you turn up the volume, it automatically, those low frequencies, they'll reduce themselves automatically. My personal favorite was a live PA, just because it's somewhere between the flat and the club DJ. Just enough low-end boost for a 10-inch, and they get a bit louder without reducing the low frequencies. It was my favorite, but they're all very useful. Good to have for a beginner DJ that's not too sure how to tune their sound system. I think it's a nice feature to have. So let's turn this back around, and we can talk about how they compare to some other cabs that I own, some other compact cabs. Those being the RCF Art 310A. I've had these for roughly 7 years now. They're probably my go-to when it comes to comparing sound quality and output of speakers in its size range. Also have the Yamaha DXR 8, which I compared it to. Of course, the DXR 8 has a smaller woofer, so once the volume went up, it won't quite keep up with the 310A or CVE-10. But I just wanted a good idea of how they compared, sonically, so to have a good point of comparison. Now, these are more expensive boxes. CVE is a little bit more of a value box, but still. So what did you find, Al? How do they sound? I can tell you they're very, very loud. The Cerwin Vega, it definitely did not disappoint in terms of loudness. One thing that contributes to this loudness is there is a noticeable, I don't know if I want to call it a boost or whatnot, but to the upper mid frequencies. And I have my little Yorkville PGM8 here. It's got a little 7-band EQ, and I basically identified these frequencies that seemed a little bit harsh on certain program material as being mostly in the 2K. Somewhere between the 2 and 4K, but bringing down that 2K a little bit and the 4K just a tad bit made these sound a lot better. Out of the box, I found they're a little bit, I'm going to say just a little harsh on in the mid frequencies with certain songs. And I noticed that as soon as I got them out of the box, but also when I compared them to the RCF and Yamaha, that's the first thing you'll notice. The RCF and Yamaha, just sound quality is obviously a little bit better, especially in the top end, and that mid-range seems more open and less aggressive, more, I'll call it ear-pleasing. While the Cerwin Vega is just loud right out of the box. But toning down that 2K and 4K made them much better. Most people, well, I'm probably a little more difficult than most people. But out of the box, very, very, very loud. There is a noticeable bass boost in almost every setting except for monitor and voice. The DJ club mode obviously being the most obvious. And there is definitely some very strong processing in there, and some, I don't know if it's sliding frequency filters, but as as the volume goes up, that bass boost, you can hear it being decreased, and you can actually, as I'm putting the volume up, I can audibly hear when they're cutting out, those deeper frequencies, probably from, 50 to 65 hertz or so. And as you keep the volume getting up and louder and louder and louder, eventually it sounds like they're cutting out. It's almost like they put in 100 hertz high pass in the signal automatically. So even if you're using these with the actual CVE-10 sub, which is the sub in the series, does have filtered high pass outs. But even if you're using a sub that doesn't have that, even if you're running these full range, as the volume goes up, it's like they automatically protect the woofer. And if you're using subs, you're probably not going to hear it. Full range, obviously, you can hear once that frequency filter kicks in, or that that cut out, as soon as those low frequencies start being reduced. You can audibly hear it, but you know, they do that to protect the speaker. And they don't have a limit light. That's one thing about the CVE series. They don't have a limit light. They do that on purpose, obviously, because they're so well protected. I was able to crank these. I'm not kidding. I really like ran my mixer up to 0 dB and just slightly higher. And these, they held up just fine. As soon as I passed a certain point, as mentioned, you can hear that the bass was being cut out, but they maintained their composure. They didn't sound bad or anything. Just louder in the mids and highs, which is, it made me think of the Yorkville Parasaur series, which pretty much does the same thing and has the different modes. Same thing with the EF tops. If you put it in club DJ mode, as the volume goes up, you can hear those frequencies that are going to be reduced just to protect the woofer. Still sounds fairly musical, but you shouldn't be using a 10-inch for full range sound reproduction unless it's a really, really small party. In general, 8s or 10s should be used with subs. If you're planning on not using subs, I'd recommend going with the CVE 12 or 15. I mean, especially given that the 15 is like 2 or 3 pounds heavier than the 12. At 36 pounds, I would just go with a pair of CVE 15s if I were a beginning DJ and wanted something that got really loud, was well processed, and looked great. So in my opinion, these are really a great speaker for the price. For a 10-inch, it performs admirably. The low end is actually really nice and full at low volumes, of course. It is processed, but similar to the Parasaurus, in my opinion. That's another side note. Cerwin Vega is now distributed by Yorkville Sound. If I recall correctly, Gibson, which also does Stanton and KRK. So at least they're well backed by Yorkville. So yeah, a problem with them. My dealer told me they come with a 1-year warranty, but I read on Cerwin Vega's website and they say 3 years for their active speakers. So one way or the other, you can actually go to Long McQuaid and get an extension on that warranty. It's like 4% of the purchase price. So like for this speaker, you pay an extra $20 per year of warranty through Long McQuaid. So whatever you feel you want in terms of warranty protection, you can buy some extra years at $20 a year or so. So there you go. As mentioned, sound-wise, not quite up to the level of the Yamaha DXR or RCF Art 310As. The 310As are pretty much my go-to when comparing. They just pretty much have almost that a perfect sound for an active 10-inch. I've been using them for around 7 years or so, and they are loud, crisp, and the vocals sound just right. Same with the DXR. The vocals are very nice. Top end is very nice and crisp. I didn't get quite the vocals weren't quite as nice sounding on the CVE. They were loud, definitely loud, but there's something about the sound that's just not quite as high quality or hi-fi as the DXRs or RCFs. But that is pretty much to be expected in a lower priced box. Still, I find that the CVE line delivers great value, and they will, as mentioned, they get extremely loud. They will get as loud as the RCF or Yamaha, or very, very close. So no problems there. And as mentioned, that limiting is very effective. That processing is very effective in protecting the transducers. So there you go. If you have any questions, any more specific questions, please let me know. I actually ran these probably about 3 or 4 hours straight yesterday with all kinds of music and comparing them to the RCF and Yamaha, and they really held their own, especially in terms of output. They get crazy loud for such a small box. I can just imagine that the 12s and 15s get even louder, but as mentioned, 10s should be used with a sub. So overall, very nice. A little reduction in the 4K and 2K frequencies gets them to sound even more ear-pleasing, I should say. But overall, great box, lightweight. Build quality seems good. 1 or 3 year warranty, not sure, maybe Cerwin Vega would like to confirm, but overall, for entry-level box, this is actually Cerwin Vega's entry-level line. Very good, very, very good. I was very impressed with all you got, and especially the look. It's a great-looking box, very sexy box. A lot of these newer boxes are, you know, full grill, nice and clean, and the CVE is no exception. So any questions, whatever, feel free. My name is Al Poulin from Party Time DJ Services. Have yourselves a great day.